Welcome to South Texas Now, featuring attorney Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. He grew up right here in the Coastal Bend and became a physician's assistant, fell in love with the law, and became a lawyer. Each broadcast of South Texas Now brings you unique interviews with some of the voices that make a difference right here in South Texas. Now please enjoy this episode of South Texas Now.
And welcome to another edition of South Texas Now. Now listen, guys, we had last time a great interview with Vanessa Flores, who is now our executive producer and our political analyst. She's all the way from Texas A&M, College Station, and she is taking South Texas by storm and interviewing some of the most powerful people, men and women. And we're very proud of her. She's taking on the helm that Carlos Lopez, Joe Flores, Terry Shamsi, Phil Vela, and should the list go on of Hispanics that are not exactly Republican, not exactly Democrat, but centrists, people that are looking at things from a reasonable point of view, and also giving those people that point of view. I've talked way too much. Carlos, welcome.
Happy New Year, Joe.
Happy New Year. First of all, how is your family?
They're doing wonderful, Joe. We've had a wonderful holiday season. We got a chance to go to New York for the first time in my 59 years.
Jealous.com.
I got to see the Macy Parade in person. It was a lifetime dream of mine. And not
God, rub it in.
My wife and my children and my grandchildren. A Lopez party of 10. We all experienced the magic of New York. Will I ever be able to go there again? I don't know, Joe.
I don't know. I just don't know, Carlos. I don't know. I mean, geez. I'm a little bit jealous, but I love New York. And I'll also say my daughter's aunt teaches at SUNY.
Okay.
She teaches at the University of New York. Yeah. And she wrote Grounds for Dreaming, which is one of the books about people's experience working in the fields here.
Well, one of the things that I saw in New York, Joe, was something that hits Texas. And let me explain. And what's happening here in Texas as far as politics is concerned.
Talk to me.
What I saw in the heart of Manhattan was everything that you want to imagine, Joe. The lights, the buildings, the aura of Central Park, Rockefeller Plaza, the Statue of Liberty, 9/11 Museum, you name it. The list goes on and on and on, Joe, right? But what you also see is the policies that are affecting what Governor Abbott is doing by sending people that are coming into the border. They are staying right in the middle of the heart of Manhattan.
They're loving it.
They are staying in one of those huge high-rises, Joe, and they're lined up near Broadway, Joe, and for blocks. And then they open the doors and they let everybody in. And then they go into the rooms. And I guess, I don't know what they do, right?
What about me?
What about us?
What about Vanessa? What about my wife? I mean,
it is what it is, right? But we got to see, what's happening there and get the feedback from some of the drivers.
You were boots on the ground. What did some of the people tell you?
Well,
when they were there, the people, were they Venezuelan? Were they Mexican?
No, not Mexican. They're people from coming in, those people that you see coming in, Joe, that Governor Abbott is literally grabbing and putting on buses and sending them over there. They are there, Joe, because that is what do they call that? One of those cities that are protected cities, right? They are actually living in Manhattan hotels. It is crazy. I've never thought. I never thought I could see that.
Everybody's thinking that
They're
it's
roaming
Mexican
the streets.
and
they're
Mexican
not. No,
Americans.
they're not. No. This is Central American people that are coming in, and I saw how they're living and where they're staying, and these high-rise buildings, and it is unbelievable. And now, also, either it's going to be Texas' problem or it's going to be somebody else's problem. So, but we saw it in real time, and that was pretty amazing. Something that I was not prepared to see.
I love Times Square, where you have the whole police station. Mm-hmm. The cops are right there.
We were 2 blocks away. 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
We stayed at the Westin Marriott, which is Times Square, and it was right down
Our
Broadway.
executive producer, Vanessa, is having a heart attack saying, what did you just mention? But it's true. We have excellent people that are working for the governor in here in Texas, and also Abel knows about this. Why New York?
Well, I don't think it's just New York. It's Chicago. It's a lot of these safe cities that's happening. And either it stays here in Texas, Joe, or it goes somewhere else. So,
but why New York?
Why not New York? They're the ones that designated themselves to be that way.
It's a little cold for Hispanics. I hate to,
So my feedback, Joe, was from people, the drivers and different people there. And I don't think they're too happy with what's happening. But it is a new generation, and I think people are going to see this change in the demographics in New York eventually, where you could see a lot of people from Puerto Rico or Cubans or things of that nature there. Now they're mixing them up with other people as well, and from Central America, and it's going to change the makeup of the entire city. We won't see it in 2023 or 24.
Come on, Carlos. Whites, I hate to interrupt, but whites are nearly equal to Hispanics as far as whites aren't making any more kids, and we've already surpassed African Americans. And a lot of Hispanics, it's not any longer just the major cities.
Well, I think true and not true, Joe, because I think we'll use our examples, right? I mean, I have 4 children. You have 1 child.
Thank God.
Although sometimes it appears that they're 4, right? But it's only 1.
She acts like she's 4 kids. I mean, she's a dynamo.
But the people that are coming in, they easily could have 7, 6, 8, and it's just going to multiply with time.
And what's going to happen with them when they stay?
I don't have an opinion regarding their entry to the country or either pros or cons, Joe. I'm just merely sharing with you what I saw in real time. When I made all the plans and preparations, that was not part of my equation. I never thought that I would see what I saw. It's specifically right in the middle of the heart of Manhattan, seeing. Joe, I'm talking about a mile long.
Well, we'll talk about the conversations.
Human beings, Joe, waiting to get up in a high-rise building.
Well, we'll talk about the conversations you had with them.
Well, some of the Uber drivers, some of the taxi drivers, and others, they're not happy. They're about them coming into the city, and they're causing problems and things of that nature. It was New York is everything that you think of, Joe, with all the beauty, but there's a lot of human trafficking as well, and you see it like. People, like when you go to here in town, people are not allowed to put anymore that you have a lost dog or you have a garage sale. But in these polls, Joe, you will see murdered, missing.
God.
And so this is a serious problem.
And we're talking about reference to cartel too.
Well, I don't know who's doing the crimes, but you can see it. So I have to be very careful with my children because I have children with special needs.
Of course.
And you can lose a child very easily, Joe, in the crowds. Just for example, like during the Macy Parade, there's 3 million people in the parade route.
Unbelievable.
That's scary. You better know what you're doing, and you better know where you're at and where your children are at.
Thank God Eric knows jiu-jitsu.
He does not, but it is it was an eye-opening experience. Aside from
how long were you there? Because I've seen pictures.
Yeah, I was there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we came back Saturday for about 4 days.
Thank God you're back, but it really shows why. Now
They're
this
called
was mainly
they're called sanctuary cities.
Well, we call it sanctuary cities, but our governor sent them over not as a sanctuary, more like a penitentiary.
Humanitarian?
I would disagree and say send a message.
It's politics. It's a full contact sport.
And I know Bill is giving me the shut up, Joe, don't go that far, we've got a couple of minutes. But really, this has been done before. DeSantis, the far right has done this to prove a point, and it's failed. So let's go back a little bit.
You know what, Joe? I think this is either failing or working. Here's what I think about that statement, Joe. I think what it does, it grabs the problem and it puts it on the table.
Okay.
It says, now let's talk about it. Because now it's affecting you, right, New York or Chicago? Now it's affecting you. Well, this is what we're dealing with in Texas. And if you guys don't want to talk about it on a federal level, it's going to bring you to the table to discuss the problem.
If you're brown, stick around, I got to say it, Carlos. And Bill is already putting the cane around my neck and saying, dude, shut up. Yeah. But really, we've been dealing with this all our lives. The people from New York, sad to say, Anthony Bourdain has passed, one of my favorite chefs, and he said it first. You know who runs the whole restaurant business? Hispanics. Everybody in behind the kitchen, from doing the dishes to preparing everything to sauciers to everything. He said if it wasn't for them, the restaurant business would be
in the middle
over.
Joe, not in so much, but in the middle of New York, or in the centerpiece of New York is Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, and it, give me, the phrase, right, Joe?
You're tired, you're poor, you're hungry,
this country has been dealing with migration for many, many years from different countries. So it's something that needs to be discussed, and hopefully they can find some sort of common ground.
We got 30 seconds. What would you like to tell, not only as a broadcaster, but as a father, as a Hispanic, as a guy who, is watching this in real time? What would you like to tell our friends that are white, brown, black, yellow, red?
We're all Americans. And it's not me against you. It's all of us together. It's us against the world. And we cannot lose focus of that. And this country was built with us supporting each other. And at the end of the day, Joe, when people were at war in World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, nobody was checking to see if Michael Smith was being shot at and Jose Garcia was trying to protect Michael Smith. We're all wearing the American flags, and we're here to support ourselves, period. No questions asked.
And 10 seconds left. One time I went and talked with an old lady, God bless her, she was from Germany, and she said, when the American soldiers came, she said, I couldn't believe the color, the diversity of the way they talked, and how kind they were.
Absolutely. I love this country. I love this country, Joe.
Yeah, we love this country. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores. I grew up in South Texas just like you. I was a newspaper boy in Alice, Texas, and then I went into healthcare. And I've transferred those healthcare skills, taking care of the sickest of the sick. And I use that compassion, and I also use it to also try to understand my clients who are hurt, injured, permanently disfigured. Call me and get that empathy you need. 361-887-8670. And we're back after a brief break. You're watching South Texas Now. And first of all, I want to thank the Lopez family and somebody living and breathing here who gave me my start, Carlos Lopez. And it was a little bit after my daughter was born. I felt, politics had let me down. I felt that, I had run for office and I hadn't been successful at it. But sure enough, Carlos was right. After a couple of months, they said, "You're Joe Flores. Yeah, I want you to be my lawyer. You never gave up. You kept running and you never gave up." And he was right. And now, not only the Lopez family, but they fought tooth and nail to become one of the best and biggest of the Hispanic, and I'm talking radio, television, and major broadcasters. And they gave me my start 2 decades ago, so thanks, guys. And I want to thank Don Humberto Lozano Lopez, because he passed away in 2011, but I never forget him.
That's
right. I love you, Carlos.
I love you too, Joe.
You're my brother.
I remember. I remember you were one of your darkest times when you finished that election, and I reminded you.
Plain lollipop with a 38.
Basically, it was a pity party of one, and you were the only one invited.
You told me to. You told me have your pity party, yes, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
And have your pity party and get over it, because that's it. You're a lawyer. Don't ever forget that. And you have a responsibility. God has given you a tremendous gift to communicate with people, and I think this is just your step. And I also reminded you the guy you lost to, let me see, he spent almost $500,000 and you didn't spend even a fraction of anything.
And let's not forget Hector, the lawyer, right, and judge.
That's right.
He beat me by 100 votes.
100 votes, and that was incredible. So you had a.
I know you stuffed a ballot box, Hector.
You had a great run, and I think that propelled you to the next level, Joe. And this is why you're here today, doing these type of shows.
And my daughter said, "Vote, a sign, and threw stuff at people."
Participating even then.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right. And that's what it's all about, Joe. And. I'm glad to be your friend. I'm glad to be associated with you for a long time period of time. One of the great things that I remember, Joe, is when we built 96.9 in downtown Houston, and you and I went up to the 50th floor, and we took pictures in front of the medical center there in Houston, and the NRG Stadium right there, and the Super Bowl had just happened with Lady Gaga coming down the
Fear of Heights, and I did,
and he did it, and you could see Joel Osteen, you could see Toyota Center, you could see Minute Maid Park with the Astros and one, and you and I were sitting there and looking out and said, we're on the air, serving 7 million people in H-Town in Houston, and we did it together, Joe. And you're awesome, and I appreciate that. We built stations in Austin. We have 5 radio stations in San Antonio, the 7th largest city in America. We have a station that we have in North Chicago. We are in Las Cruces, Nuevo Mexico, Brownsville, down in the Valley, Laredo, Victoria, Corpus. I mean, God has been good, man.
When's Vanessa going to get her show in Chicago and Houston?
We'll see.
She's got to try out for it.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. We were talking off camera with Vanessa and talking about the youth of today and how they gather information and the lack of information in their lives as well, Joe. And I think that's important that we need to talk to the audience, because maybe the parents, the family that are watching us right now, they're not even aware.
Well, I want to hear from Vanessa.
Absolutely.
I mean, what is going on with the kids nowadays and about politics? Do they know what's going on? What's up?
Well, honestly, I'm studying political science right now at Texas A&M University, and even with that knowledge and the courses that I take, even I still am confused. And that's someone who actually has a passion for politics. But what about the citizens that have interests in other things? They might not be aware, and it's as little things as the differences between the parties. What does each position hold? What does each position do? Why should I vote in the local elections rather than just when it's the presidential cycle? Those differences are so important to advocate to people. And I think it's so important that we have you on here because you are a part of major broadcasting.
Yes.
And so what differences have you seen? Has, media and broadcasting been beneficial to politics recently? How do you think it changes the youth's view? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, you know what,
Tell us.
Vanessa, I think you hit on something so powerful that I think people need to discuss this. And let's take a page of what's happening in the NFL right now. Joe and I, everybody, most of the guys and girls as well, some girls, right?
Bill Dunlap.
But we're looking at a group when we're talking about the masses, Joe. So we're talking about this group of people, fantasy football, people that are involved, and we're hardcore Cowboy fans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens when you inject a young person into the game that is a mega superstar into the game of football?
Okay.
This level of awareness goes from here to here. And
Right.
who am I talking about, Joe? Taylor Swift coming in now with a football player with Kelsey.
Right.
And now
It's blowing up to
all
everybody.
This new generation, Vanessa's generation, is like, well, I wasn't really paying attention to football.
But it took her generation
yes, to bring it to this next
make
level.
people interested.
And want to
Correct.
listen.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah,
yes.
because I think people learn things, Joe. Well, you and I are in the traditional realm. Our generation, Joe, radio, television, newspaper. They never held a newspaper in their lives. You did, Joe.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my false teeth in. Anyway, yeah.
Everything they see is on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media, Snapchat, whatever their social media they can grab. That's where they're going to get their fountain of information, and they learn, and either the information is true or not. And when you go deeper, like, what does the district attorney do? What does the county commissioner do? They're like, I don't have time to know what they do.
Right.
You understand what I
Right.
said,
Because
Joe?
we're
I
just
don't
looking
care.
at the bigger picture.
She was one of 1 million who made a political ad at 9 years old.
9 years old, that's right.
Eric Cantu, it's not all about you. It's just business, Eric. Yeah. But she did. She was interested even at that age.
Yes.
Right.
But
But-
like Vanessa says, even though her vast knowledge is so much, even there's things that she still doesn't know. You know what I mean? So
Right.
if she that is involved in political science is learning new things, imagine just a regular Joe and Mary. They don't know anything about this kind of stuff, Joe.
Exactly.
And how do we motivate them to go out to vote? How do we motivate them to say, hey, it's important because it does affect you? We're going back to what's happening. Right now, when we started the show, Joe, we were talking about Manhattan. And everybody kind of
We
with
went
the
from the
story.
biggest
The
city.
story, and now I injected something political into my story about people that are crossing the border and talking. And if there's a young generation, they're like, "What is he talking about?"
Right.
Now, how do you get people's awareness of that? I don't know, Joe.
Well, I think that there
Well-
needs to be more of an emphasis that politics affects your daily life. I mean, like, I remember my dad telling me, from you turning the light on to you driving your car to you turning on the water, little things, are affected by politics that you may not even realize.
That's
how much
correct.
you get paid. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And by you mentioning your story from New York, it affects someone from someone who drives Uber to maybe someone who works at the deli shop. Everything is influenced by politics. And there needs to be an emphasis on that it's not just, well, let me get this person out of the race because they're not affiliated with my political party. It's more about what is going to affect me. Not just, well, they're Republican or they're Democrat or they're Libertarian. That doesn't matter. It's about what they stand for that's going to affect you. And I think the hardest thing is that young people, including myself, find it very difficult to see long term. We find, well, right now he's not affiliated or she's not affiliated with my party, so I'm not going to worry about what they can do later. I just want them to win right now. And that's how you can't think. Do you agree?
I agree. And how does it affect me? And why should I care? You know what I mean, Joe? I don't know, Joe, to be quite honest, how to ring the alarm bell. To bring everybody up. You mentioned one time to me, Joe, I told you something, hey, Joe, it's that this generation doesn't care and they don't. And I remember you telling me one day, and you can quote it because you're so smart, Joe. And it was Caesar said, or what was it?
Socrates said they have no respect for their elders. They have no respect for the institutions. They're lazy. They don't care about anything other than partying. And that was 2,000 years ago.
And it's still...
What has changed? It's party time! It's the same. Yeah.
So it applies to this... You
got to respect the young people.
Right.
And I seen it in my lifetime, and a little bit of yours as well, Joe. When I was born in the 60s, so we were... peace, love, make love, not war, the Vietnam War. The end of the Vietnam War, we saw the hippies of the 70s. I saw the discos of the 70s. I saw...
Make more love, not war.
80s, we see the big hair. I've seen so many... I remember seeing the beginning of computers, this big thing, and microwave, and I remember seeing the first person with the with the cordless phone, Vanessa, and it was one of my neighbors. I'm like, oh my God. Where's the wire?
Right.
And they must have so much money, so this new generation, as soon as they're born, the baby, they're already on Instagram. 5 seconds when they're born.
Right.
So I do not know how it's going to look, Joe, 20, 25 years from now with this new generation. We're going to find out.
Vanessa, we got a minute left, but what would you like to tell the young voters and why should they care?
I think it's so important to care, but it also starts with our viewers now who may be watching it. That's their grandma or their sister or their mom. To start having a conversation about it. Strike that conversation, because we never know if maybe the younger generation isn't watching this right now, because a lot of people don't watch TV now. So start having that conversation, one. And two, if you're fascinated about politics, or maybe you just are frustrated with what's going on, you feel like what's happening in your city isn't helping you, look it up. Just start researching from different positions. Now you see political campaign signs everywhere. Look up the person. Look up what they do. Try to contact them. What are you doing for the community? Can I see your beliefs, your values? What do you want for Corpus Christi, Nueces County? Things like starting off simple. Reaching out to the politicians. They're there for you. They're running for you, so why not? They want to be politicians for their citizens. Well, citizens get involved as well. And I think that those are some base steps to take, to try to get more involved, especially in local campaigns, which we emphasize here on South Texas Now. That is very important. Not just the presidential cycles that you see over TikTok and YouTube and everywhere in between, but it's what's happening right here in your backyard that starts it all, that plants the seed.
The only lady who makes me shut up, Vanessa Flores. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about why we should care what young people think.
You've been watching South Texas Now, featuring Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. For questions and comments, please call 361-887-8670 or visit floreslawfirm.com.